Innovative.
Dynamic.
Gritty.
Determined.
Warrior.
This podcast is about the innovators,
the leaders on the front lines of adversity,
the all-around good people doing good deeds.
They are the civic warriors of the world. Our guests are the leaders in the nonprofit industry affecting change.
They try, they fail, they overcome.
Through their stories, we can join forces to become civic warriors. Hey Warriors, it's Brad Caruso and Matt Mojica here. On this episode of Civic Warriors, we're going to talk with John Natale, the president and founder of USLEO, or U.S. Law Enforcement Organization. USLEO is an organization that has answered the call to humanitarian relief, supporting the men and women in blue that have dedicated their lives to protect and serve. With a passion and commitment to be a light in a dark place, their desire is to bring comfort and assistance where needed.
John Natale is the president and founder. He also serves as chaplain and PEO for the Suffern Police Department in Suffern, New York. He is the author of the book, Journey of Destiny, a book about overcoming adversity. Let's welcome John Natale to the show.
So how long have you been in law enforcement?
Well, this is my fourth year.
Fourth year?
My fourth year with the Suffern Police Department and doing in the capacity that I'm working with them. And then I started United States Law Enforcement Organization at the end of 2016. And that's a nonprofit 501c3. And that organization is basically counseling, financially help assisting families and officers throughout the nation through counseling and through finances. But my biggest passion is obviously counseling, but we do send finances through departments all over the country, and I contact departments all over the country all the time because there's always something going on. I've always had a passion for law enforcement throughout all my days, but I never knew and realized that the capacity that I'd be in today wasn't on the radar, because years ago it was always, you want to be in law enforcement and protect and serve, and never realized that what the real plan here was to actually be there. As a chaplain, you're a pastor. I never realized that we would make an impact throughout the nation and make these connections and have the opportunity to speak and to write. And because it actually came at the most perfect time because of how everything spiraled downward with just bitterness and the anger and the resentment towards everyone that are in blue. You see these guys and you see them every day when I go in every morning and see what they're doing and knowing what's going on behind the scenes where the general public doesn't. That's a hard life. It's not something that I've interviewed guys all over the country. When you're 22 years old up to, your mid-30s, most of these guys love their job, but when they're 40 and over, they hate their job. They're looking to retire. I want out because of just this price they've paid and the politics. And these men and women that serve faithfully, they're every day they know that it might be their last. Just like the individuals in Jersey City, the individuals in Texas. It's happening all the time. You don't know individuals that are responding to simple domestics where there's an argument. Next thing you know, I get calls from a lieutenant, and he's told me that two of his deputies go in just to respond to a simple domestic, and both of them get shot as soon as the doors open. One gets killed, and the guy that kills them is the father of a sheriff. It's just all you're doing is responding to a simple domestic, and that's what you live with every day. But there's times when I'm walking and you're looking over your shoulder all the time. And I've had people hate you just because of what you wear. The uniform and the shield creates an atmosphere of animosity, not acceptance. But you know what? You can't live like that, though. No, you can't live in fear.
Because you can't change it.
There was this one guy that was on the streets. I knew he didn't like me. It was so obvious until I started talking with him. And the next thing you know, we became friends. It's just because he portrayed the uniform as someone that hates me and judged the person before he knew the heart. And next thing you know, the guy that didn't like me is asking me what my thoughts are and racism. And I told him. You ever hear Alveda King?
No.
Martin Luther King?
Yeah.
That's his niece.
Okay.
She's in the Georgia State House of Representatives. She's a very big public advocate for peace and unity. I was actually supposed to meet with her several months ago regarding racism. They asked me a question. There's because I speak a lot of stuff regarding the government, and they asked me, what do you think the key is to ending racism? I said, we're never going to end it because it's a choice. And I said it's one person at a time, and when that person who thinks you hate him sees that you have a valuable interest in their life, everything changes. One person at a time, man. Well, and that's why that guy on the street, when I started talking to him, he recognized that I don't judge you for your guy. I actually care about you, and however I can help facilitate your future, make it better for you. That's what I'm here for. And when they get that and they see it, everything changes. And most of the time, people that don't receive people because something was poured into them. It's not just created. You're not just born a hater.
No, not at all.
It's developed through bitterness, anger, rejection, and what's been poured into you. And what comes out of you is what's been poured into you. And when you change this, and that's why I tell the chief of police all the time, I said all the guys that are on the wall that are wanted or this and that, I've told them, I said, listen, every one of those guys have a story and probably a foundation that's been breached. And I can guarantee you something went wrong at an early age. And if you fix that, this doesn't fix it. This fixes.
Right.
Your perspective changes on life on when your heart's healed. So that's what I target.
I wanted to ask, how did you get involved with Representative King?
Through connections with
Mm-hmm.
her. I do a lot of ministering with organizations across the United States, especially one in Atlanta that I do like twice a month. It's a national call, and so I speak on it. And she's friends with her. And I was actually supposed to go down there and minister in Atlanta and meet with her to talk about unity and peace. I was actually supposed to be in Washington on October 12th last year in the White House to speak with a whole bunch of issues. I do a lot of speaking regarding and releasing stuff regarding Netanyahu, Trump, Kim. So it got a lot of public awareness. And my passion is to help people, get through adversity. That's what I do, and I do it on the streets. And being a chaplain also for the police department gives me because I carry my shield all the time, gives me the ability and the authority that I can speak to you and help you even when I'm in uniform, because I have that leverage. Even the 1st Precinct down by the Freedom Tower wanted me to come in and help them and set up an office for people that came in off the streets to encourage them, because so many people are coming off the streets want to kill themselves, and to go to the police department for help, and not just helping police officers, but just helping people. But I've been around it enough, and I've experienced it enough, and I lived it enough to know when, as soon as I'm with somebody for 2 minutes, I can tell where they're at emotionally, psychologically. Because there's whether or not you believe in the Bible or not, but the scripture that says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So what comes out is basically what's happening inside. So I love helping people. That's what I do, And I try to help them in a way where they can understand their situation and how to get over it. Is the medicinal field a help? Of course it is. There's times when you need medicine. Of course there is. But then there's times when you've got to forgive and you've got to let go and you've got to. It's something that medicine won't. Medicine
doesn't heal. Medicine
Right.
is another tool in the
Right.
belt to help you get to the
You
road
get
to
through.
peace.
You get through. There's and it gets you through, but your perspective and your choices causes your heart whether or not to be healed or not. Medicine doesn't heal the heart. Medicine doesn't heal the past,
Mhm.
the history. Because even in depression, I dealt with depression. Medicine doesn't heal depression because it just gets you through that moment, but it doesn't wipe away the memory or the thought, because you
and your predisposition, or the way that you've trained your body to react.
right.
Yeah.
And most people today, majority of people today, dictate their future on their past. On what's happened in the past will dictate the decisions they make for the future. You can't live like that.
You can't live like that, but a lot of us do. And
They
it's,
do.
It's
And
scary.
It's all fear based.
It's all fear based.
It's all fear based, and
Yeah, I personally relate to that.
and most of the people live in regret.
Yep.
I know, man. There were times when when our family, we had nothing, no money, nothing, zero, and we had to make a choice. And I had 4 kids. Like, what are we gonna do? But I know I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep going, and we're not gonna give up just because of this, because this doesn't dictate. Your checkbook doesn't dictate your future. That's nothing. People commit suicide all the time just because they remember 2008 when the market crashed. People jumping off bridges. You're jumping off a bridge because you don't have any money in your bank account. That's how much you valued your life and your family on a dollar sign. That everything's subject to change. Everything. And even when you think you have everything all set in order, like I worked for the FAA for almost 14 years.
Oh, really?
401k, I'm set. I'm in operations management. I'm good to go. You think you're a lifer. Everything's good. Wife's taking, you got your 3 kids, 1 on the way. You're solid. You got a great future here. I'm not going anywhere. And the next thing you know, you come to work one day and the vice president calls you in the office and you're laid off. And you go through your severance and you go through your unemployment, you go through your savings, and you can't find a job for 2.5 years. You make a choice. Is my family and my worth and my value and my life more important? Am I going to base it on what's in the bank? No, because I want my kids to remember that I was filled with faith, filled with strength. Dad never gave up, and he did what he had to do. And life was, it's too precious to throw in the towel over a monetary sign.
But how do you help someone understand that, right? So if you're going through that scenario, anybody that experiences any either chemical imbalance or depression or whatever it might be, smorgasbord of things, how do you help someone that is experiencing that at that moment understand that there's more to life than the things that you're worried about? Because I think that's the key breakthrough I always see is, how do you help someone understand that?
Yeah, one of my most passionate things that I have is talking with people when you've had experience in it. Even as a pastor, counseling people that have been divorced or or depression, suicide, the whole deal, whether it's in law enforcement or whatever. I'm a strong advocate of I don't believe you can help somebody if you've not been through it completely. You can give them some advice because then you're just giving them book knowledge. But when somebody understands that you've been through it, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone to understand that, you know what? If you've been through it and you got through it and I'm going through it, tell me how you got through it. And I'm going to tell you how I got through it. I'm going to tell you that, yeah, it was a support system, could have been medicine, friends, but there's also godly intervention as well. That there were times when I was suicidal and there was no person to stop it. There was a divine intervention that came through that opened my eyes, because there wasn't anyone to say, hey, John, don't do this. It was me and nobody in that car that I was getting ready to launch off of a lookout tower at full speed going up that road. Something didn't happen at that moment, and it wasn't a fear-based. It was that voice came right into that car and said, I've got a better plan for you.
Yeah, I truly believe in that too. And you hear a lot of stories in that regard. And now you look at, okay, if I didn't do that, look at all the help you're doing now. I wouldn't have done that. But you can't tell yourself that at that time. No,
you can't.
Yeah.
There's not enough time.
There's not enough time
in that moment.
That's right.
When I counsel an individual that lost his son in Dallas, police officer in Dallas, one of the things I help him with is not just telling him it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. It's never okay. It's never going to be okay. We're going to get you through it, and you're going to get through it, and there's never a fix to it where I'm fine now. You're never fine. I lost my mom when I was 19, right in front of me. At 53 years old, I'm still saddened by it. I'm never over it. I know where she is, but it's not fixed. But you get through and you have a hope. But like I told this one individual, I said, I'm going to ask you probably the most difficult question or scenario you're ever going to have in your life besides your son. He goes, harder than seeing my son get killed? I said, it might be just as hard. It might be. And he goes, what's that? I said, you're grieving for your son, but you're angry, bitter. You're incredibly mad at the individual that did it to your son, who murdered your son. I said, but if you don't get past this anger, your family is going to remember you as an angry grandpa or an angry dad. That's what they're going to remember you by.
Yep.
And you're an advocate for public awareness now. You travel all over the country, but you're doing it with anger. Well, the way I'm going to help you is one thing is this. He goes, what do you want to do? I said, I need you to forgive the guy that killed your son. He goes, I can't forgive him. I said, if you can't forgive him, then you're going to carry that weight. I said, because that man didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to kill your son. That man did that day more than likely because he's dealt with so much trauma, and that's how he vented it. And his anger and his bitterness towards life and towards himself, he channeled it towards other people. It was your son that day. It could have been someone else. But he had a story, more than likely, and that's the road that he chose, and he needed help. I said, but now just imagine what you could do for others if you got the understanding and revelation that you could forgive. Will it all go away? No, but you won't be carrying the bitterness. You'll be advocating with an understanding, and even help more people to understand that there's a problem out there with the heart. So that man channeled his anger from his heart issues, and now you're doing the same thing, but just in a different form. So release the anger, forgive the guy, and I know it's so hard, but you've got to, and let go, and you'll have more of an understanding, and you'll have an ease of pain, and you'll be able to love better. You'll be able to accept better. I said, because right now you're guarded. You hate everybody. That's what your children and your grandkids are going to remember you by. And that's not what you want to leave. If you let that go, your kids are going to see that there is hope, but it's the choice that you have to make. And how do you get your help from? The first thing that has to be instigated is your choice. Is I have to make the choice now. And you got to look at yourself, because you don't even value your life, because at times you thought your life wasn't even worth living anymore. You wanted to commit suicide because your son was killed. So you devalued your life. So now that cycle is going to just keep going. And if you keep that going, then it's going to cycle right into your grandkids.
Yeah.
And they'll keep cycling it of that anger and that pain. So let's end it here. So, and even with alcoholism or drug abuse, which I was raised in, it's the choice. Look, I understand what's going on here, and I understand that this is going to take some time, but I'm going to make a choice that, you know what, what's my life worth? And experiencing all of that and seeing all that is most of the time, majority of the time, individuals that carry these attributes is they have a low self-esteem, a low self-worth, and they look at their life as not being worth anything. And that's what suicide's all about, is when you have no value. But when people see that you have a heart for them, passion to help them, I'm here for you. There's going to be times when we talk and I'm not going to be the one that talks. I'm just going to listen, because you need that. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do, and I'm a friend. and you can count on me all the time. And whatever you want me to do, whatever you need me to do, I'll be here. You can call me at any time. But I'm going to get through this with you. You're not going to do this alone. And we're going to get you back into the place where you're confident in who you are and what you're called to be. And when people have that support system and that love, and knowing that, you know what, I can't make it alone, but someone's going to walk it with me. Most people today are selfish. They don't want to walk the road with you. It's a self-centered world, man. People are in their own thing. And because it's just, there's a sacrifice involved, a sacrifice. And if walking it out with somebody, even though it costs you something, but you know what, that's what it's all about, is I'm willing to put down what I'm doing to help you get through your stuff because you're worth it. And that's a big way of fixing people.
100%. You created hope. Hope is the biggest determinant of whether you're going to keep going or not. People lose that hope, or things will get better, or I can do better, or I can get over this. That initial hump of I can get over this, I can forgive what that person did. If they can't do that, there's no going forward.
No.
And so, but without you, and without a friend or without a support system, it's very hard for someone to convince themselves of that fact.
That's right.
Almost impossible.
That's right. And people come up to you every day. It's place. Several months ago, I was walking on the street during a shift, and this individual came up to me and he just started sharing his heart and just telling me all his problems, that he didn't really have a desire to live anymore. And I told him, I said, listen, man, why don't you have a desire? He goes, I've been sick. I've been dealing with this. I've been dealing with that. I can't find a job. And I told him, I said, listen, people love you. You are needed more than you realize. And your life matters. And I'm going to say something. Your life matters to me. And I said, because you're my friend. And I said, I care about you. And I said, it doesn't matter what you've experienced in the past. It doesn't matter what you're going through now. I said, you have worth. And if you got sight in your eyes and sound in your ears, breath in your lungs, you're important. And you're important to somebody. And there's somebody that looks at you and loves you unconditionally. Maybe not everybody, but somebody does. And you're worth it. Just by pouring into him that breath of hope, that he has value, he starts breaking down right on the street and crying. And because he just needed that, because he hadn't heard it in such a long time. He's out of work, half the time he's just walking on the streets. But it doesn't matter. You are significant and you matter. And sometimes you just need to hear that. You just need to hear hope. And because we hear so much discouragement, everything is just discouragement. When people get a dose of fresh air and hear that their life matters and that somebody actually cares for them, it gives them that just a little pilot light that's still lit. That gives at any moment it can just turn the gas on and it'll ignite. And that's it. It's one person at a time. And what poured into him, hopefully one day he'll grab a hold of it, he'll pour to somebody else. It's just pouring hope. Like all the guys that are at the police department, every week I send the group a mass text. Not just say, be safe, watch your six. But you know what, guys? Know that I'm praying for you. Know that you're honored. And every one of you that has the ability to make choices and get out there and make an impact, I'm going to pray that you have divine opportunities to show the grace of God towards somebody else. Even on our Facebook page, every week I call it honor code. I honor a department in America throughout all the counties and states, and tell them that we're there for them, we're praying for them. They can call us at any time, just to let them know. And it means so much. And knowing that I text guys at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, listen, I'm praying for you. Just let you know that your life matters. You're doing a great job. Know that you might not ever hear it, that what you're doing is honorable. Know that there's people out there that care about you and that they're there for you, and that it doesn't go, and whatever goes unnoticed is noticed by some. And when you get that encouragement, it just gives you the ability and the desire just to keep going and just do your job a little bit better. Because at the end of the day, your job isn't about you. It's really you're helping people. And one person can change. One person, man. You affect that one person in that community. You can change everything. One person. It just goes down the ladder. It just keeps going and going and going and affecting people's lives.
One of the things I read a book. It's called Make Your Bed by Admiral McRaven.
I think I saw the TED Talk on that one.
Yeah, so you need to read the book, because the book is just his speech to the University of Texas. He gave the commencement speech. He was an admiral in the Navy. One of the things that he talks about is the multiplier effect. If everybody here, there's 20,000 students graduating. If each one of you touch 5 people's lives and do good things for 5 people, that's 100,000. Now, if the generation after you does that, and after you does that, and after you does that, you just affected 5 million people by spending 10 minutes.
It's correct.
Yeah. And if you think about that multiplier effect, and you think about if we don't go through our life with blinders on, because many people go through life with blinders on. I need to do this for myself, to do this, to do that. As opposed to, if I just send hey, great job. You guys did a good job in this. I try to do that with everything I do in our profession. Even, people like Matt work hard. I'm like, hey, good job. Like, you really, you put forth a good effort here. And like just that little bit, if we all kind of took that attitude towards others, I guarantee people would be in a less defensive place than I think a lot of our society tends to be in these days.
That's right.
And part of that is I'm not a big advocate of public media, because a lot of it is so controlled in the sense that we paint the picture we want to paint, as opposed to understanding that people can make a choice for themselves, but many people feel that they can't make a choice for themselves. I can't do that. That's against popular media. But who's popular media? Nonsense.
Peace and joy is not popular.
Yeah.
And that's what's frustrating.
Right.
Why?
Yeah, because it's not entertaining. You
It
see all
can
these
be. The bigger picture is if you can make light of a situation like that, no matter how good or bad it is.
take something that isn't absolutely perfectly positive and make it really filled with laughter.
That's it.
And get a good laugh out of it. But you can see with the media, there's so much portrayal of darkness. Everything is darkness because that's what people want to see. That's
It's what drives emotions.
It drives emotions, but also the police officer that's helping the kid or bringing him a new bike isn't entertaining. That's not exciting. But the guys that you're getting thrown water on, with buckets, that's entertaining news. That's what brings in numbers. We've created a culture of animosity and bitterness, not a culture of honor. And even the media is constantly degrading people.
Yeah.
They're not uplifting people. I mean, it's not a place where you're gonna see stories that are gonna make you feel encouraged at the end of the day.
Right.
It's gonna make you feel like this is ridiculous. It's all it is bitterness, anger, this and that, and this and that, but we've only painted one picture, and it's the stories that are released are the stories they want you to know. There's an old saying: a house that's built on sand cannot stand. And that's the same thing, for example, like with our organization. Our organization, we understand that with all the people that are hurting out there, and whether it's suicide or depression with law enforcement officers and stuff like that, there's been a breach in the foundation that can be fixed. I don't believe there's any trauma that can't be fixed. I don't believe that, because whatever someone's gone through, I've probably been through it, because I was raised in alcoholism. There was drugs, abuse, verbal abuse, bitterness, anger. We live in a dark world with so much discouragement, depression, anxiety, and everything else. And if you can be a source of hope for somebody, I mean, even on our social media pages, the majority of people that reach out to me are hurting.
Yeah.
The majority of people that email us or put up posts, and there's a big impact on social media, you're never seeing or hearing positive news. It's all negative. And it's like, to the point, it's almost like it's like a sea of discouragement. We weren't called to live in that all the time. Life isn't about, the next thing you know, you're not living, you're just existing. You're just dealing with junk and stuff. And so many people contact me and like, when am I going to get through this stuff? You're going to get through this stuff, but you've got to make the choice. You're not going to get something in the mail, and it's going to be fixed. Not long ago, early 2000s, that when our finances were so low, my wife would go to work and she wasn't making a lot of money at all. And we lived by a mountain. There's an awesome park. And I would go and just walk, hoping to find a $20 bill on the path. Just so something. And I was sending out resumes, and I had headhunters, and I sent out one season, it must have been 500 or 600 or 700 resumes. I couldn't get a job in ShopRite. And it made me understand who I was, and that I could make a choice to, there's no hope, or I can make a choice that, it might not have been fixed today, but it might just get fixed tomorrow. And if it doesn't get fixed tomorrow, the next day. But I'm going to enjoy my life for what it is today and believe that this thing's going to turn around, because all things are subject to change. And as I said before, man is not the one who dictates your future. You are. There's been so many times when people have said to me, they're in their financial hardships and they're so broken. They're like, when is it going to end? I said, basically, it's going to end when you tell it to end. When you decide that and believe in your heart that, what? The end is when you make the choice. It might not get that paycheck tomorrow. You might not get that job tomorrow, but you've made the choice. This is where it ends. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get through. And, and there's people to help me and push me. I'm not going to be in front of you pulling your hand. I'm going to be behind you pushing your back to keep you motivated and keep you encouraged to know that you just keep going. You keep going. And sooner or later, this thing's going to fix. Sooner or later. But you make the choice. You make the choice for whatever thing you're going through. And that's what I've learned from all the stuff that I was raised in. You know, I remember, all the yelling, man. I mean, it was crazy yelling all the time.
Yeah, verbal abuse is discounted.
It's discounted.
It's
man.
discounted heavily.
It's-
It weighs on you.
It
heavily.
weighs on you, man.
Yep. More subconscious than you
You
think.
know, and did I get through all that stuff? Yeah. Is it gone out of my memory? Of course not. My childhood from 1 to 10 was horrible. I didn't have a childhood. There's nothing to look back and say that was great. There wasn't a great moment, but I can use that for someone else. And when my family, we were going through stuff when my kids were little, I could relate and I can understand, but I had tools to get through. What you're going through physically, presently, doesn't mean it's permanently. The way you make it permanently is you made the choice to make it permanently. Life's about, I believe, making wise decisions. And there's an old saying, you've probably heard this. I don't know if Matt heard it. You might be too young. But you are the company you keep. You hang around discouraged people, you will stay discouraged. If you get yourself around people that are positive and encouraging, and even though you might be literally at the end of your roads, it will sooner or later that light will turn on. You'll regain that value of who you are. Because at the end of the day, it's all about this terminology, this phrase doesn't really make sense because it seems like it's selfish. It's all about you. But at the end of the day, it is all about you.
Yeah.
The only person that can fix you is you.
It's you.
Yeah.
It is all about you.
The advice I always try to give my friends is like, I feel like my generation is so quick to always help other people that they don't help themselves. And I say it's okay to be selfish sometimes. Like it's like the airplane theory. Like you have to put on your own air mask before you can give someone else their air mask.
Yeah. In the I'm a volunteer firefighter, so in that profession, the first thing they tell you in the academy is if you can't help yourself, you can't help the person next to you. And if you're in a team of 2 people and you're not monitoring your own air, regardless of what the other person's doing, and your air runs out, now you're hindering the whole team because you didn't take care of yourself first.
Right.
And you didn't light that house on fire. Someone else did. Or something else happened. And if you didn't do that, why are you making it your problem? Right. You're making your problem because you're making it your problem. And I think that's a big part of it. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily put into perspective, especially when they're trying to get help, is I have to help myself. Yes, other people are going to help me, and I probably can't help myself without that support system. But until I make the decision that I'm going to help myself, I'm going to make the selfish decision to move forward, I'm not moving forward.
Right.
And I think that's the most heavily unconsidered, probably not even a word, unconsidered thing is that I need to first help myself and realize all the resources around me. But until I take that first step, I'm not going forward.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And even in the midst of moms and dads, it's important. You know, I tell people this all the time when I'm counseling, whether or not even with people that are getting married or have been married for a long time, or no matter who it is the fact that you can't forget yourself. You can't forget that you have a future too. And as much as you pour into others, you can't forget about yourself. Because you can pour and pour and pour out, especially as a husband and wife, and never go out to dinner, never spend quality time with your wife, never take a vacation. And I'll tell people this all the time. Listen, man, you're giving out so much, but you're not remembering that you're just as important, and you got to take care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, how can you actually pour into others successfully if you're not taking care of yourself? And that's why, for example, that one police officer's father that I helped, told him, I said, listen, you're advocating, and I said this before, you're advocating out of anger. So you're only helping so much because your body language and what comes out, people see it. They're not dumb. They'll see that if you're advocating not out of a heart of peace, but out of a heart of a frustration, then you're really not accomplishing what you need to accomplish. That's so super important. And that today is, I believe, one of the keys to a successful community is when the heart is revealed and is vulnerable and people can love unconditionally. When I counsel people before they're married, I say, listen, this is an unconditional love thing here. You're loving them no matter what they're going through. There's no conditions on this. And it's not in sickness, the sickness and in death and blah, blah, blah. But the point of the matter is your spouse is going to make bad choices and you got to accept it. And it's not a get out of jail free card because they made a mistake or they messed up real bad or I'm out. That's not unconditional love. That's you're going in with conditions that you need to meet my standards in order to make me happy. And there's no person on this world, and I tell this so many times before. My wife and I have been married 32 years. And all the decisions that I have to make in my life and all the things that I've been through, my wife doesn't give me peace. She gives me hope. She'll encourage me. She'll put her arm around me. She'll give me a big hug, give me a kiss, tell me she loves me. But she can't give me peace in my heart. The only person, there's only one person that can give you peace in your heart. And there's only one person that can make that choice to that even happen, and that's you. And all the stuff that you're going through, man can't fix. Only you can. And that's what I believe is the key of helping, like I said, a community, society, a nation, and that's why we spend so much time on social media advocating encouragement and hope for people to get through. And being just a transparent person in every capacity, law enforcement and people all over the country of that, they're worth it. They matter. If I got through it, you can.
What mediums of social media do you use? Just Facebook?
I use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But we have on our Facebook accounts, we pretty extensive and large following on Facebook.
Yep.
Pretty large. Twitter has never been really that big, but on social media on Facebook, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Being interviewed with certain news medias and stuff like that kind of created a big platform for us with Facebook. We have a pretty large following. If I put up anything regarding the president, it'll hit 50,000, hundreds and hundreds of shares, thousands and thousands of likes. But it's because it's pretty much everything changed in 2016 when I started getting interviewed by the networks. Man, social media is an incredible platform to help people. It was never this way, and then all of a sudden it just changed. But there's a price. There's always a price to be paid. Because even when it's crazy, because even when you're encouraging people, there's people out there that are angry and that you're encouraging people.
Any celebrity will tell you, don't read the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, the haters.
Do not read the comments. You can't control someone who's angry with themselves taking it out on you.
It's just crazy.
And it's
if people knew the walk that you've walked and where you've been. We have got so many haters. This one person one time wrote this big long thing for everyone to read. I responded to it, but in a way that this person wasn't expecting me to respond.
Yeah.
And I responded, said, you know what, I really appreciate your opinion. And it's okay, man, have your opinion. It's okay. I said, I'm not going to defend myself, but it's okay, I understand. And just by saying that person private messages me and says, I was hoping that if you were legit, you would respond to me publicly. And he goes, you did. And he apologized. This person apologized because he was more than likely expecting me to hammer him or just delete his post.
Well, that's exactly it. It's
just delete it.
People are driving interaction with themselves.
Right.
And that's why a lot of times, same thing with media, they post negative things because you're more likely to respond to that than all the love you're getting.
A lot of times, like you said, people will respond out of anger because what they're hoping would change in their life hasn't. And people will actually reject help. They'll reject it because they'll actually go back to their place of despair for comfort. You go back to a place of bondage for hope. When Jesus was crucified and put in the tomb, he said, I'd be resurrected on the third day, right? Well, on the third day, what did the two ladies do? What did they do? They went back to the tomb to see if he was in there. They went and they stayed in there. They ran to a tomb to see if he was there or not. Why would you run back to a place of discouragement when you know the person already said, I'm not going to be there? Because you really didn't believe.
Because you didn't have faith that
you
that
didn't
person
believe.
wasn't going to be
So
there.
what were they really wanting to see? They really wanted him there. They really wanted him there because if they knew he wasn't there, they wouldn't have never ran back. But they didn't really believe. So why would you run back to a place? Because that was a place is symbolic as death. So they went from a place of life back to a place of death to bring them hope. So they went backwards to find hope in a place of darkness. A lot of times we'll do that. So why do you think people go to the bar to drink their worries away? They'll go into a place that they know it's not the healthiest. It'll cover it momentarily to help me get through. So your bondage, you actually use your bondage to help you get through life. A lot of times reject help because they're completely convinced there's no hope. And nothing's worked before, so why would it work now?
How do you find a way to break that, though? Like, how do you find a way to get people who are rejecting hope and help them find it again? Well,
you know what? It's diligence. You got to be persistent. You got to keep going. From when I was a kid, going through what I was going through and experiencing what I was experiencing in my family, you had to make a choice every day. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And the understanding that this is going to take work, but you need to constantly keep going and constantly push. Like this guy that I counsel, every time I speak to him, I said, listen, man, how you doing today? I'm not doing too well. Well, let me just tell you. Let's just go right back to the basics. I'm not going to tell you everything's going to be great, but I'm going to tell you that you're worth it. You know, your life has value. Let's keep going. What can I do for you today? Look at your kids. Look at your grandkids. When you lift up that little grandboy that's in your arms, just look at his face. Here's the other thing. When I was when one of my kids, my son Luke, when he was 7 years old, I put him to bed one night, going through a lot of stuff. I put him to bed. I sat on the end of his bed. I'm looking at him, and I heard this voice. And the voice said, John, one day if you're not here, what's that young boy going to remember you by? And that changed everything when I heard that. What is that kid going to remember you by? I don't want him to remember me by the, what I bought him. I want him to remember me by how much I loved him, how much I was there for him, and how much Dad never gave up. And that and I want him to have the mindset that, you know what, Dad might not have had this and he might not have had that. And I did see struggles in his life, but you know what? He never gave up. He loved my mom unconditionally. He loved us unconditionally. He put his family first. And so many people put their jobs first, finances first. But at the end of the day, my wife and my kids, you could say, oh, it might be a wrong attitude, but I put them ahead of me. Even though I have to take care of me first, I still put my wife and my kids ahead of me so they understand I'm not just here to make a paycheck and to pay the bills or whatever. I'm here to pour into you. Yep. So what I've poured into you unconditionally and the love that I'm pouring into you and hopefully the role model that you'll cherish, you'll pour into your kids one day. And that in the midst of adversity, there's hope and that we're a team and we're going to make this thing together. And I'm also, like I said, I'm quite transparent with my kids. And my wife and I believe in being transparent. They understand, they see both sides. And it's not just this one side. And it's tools to recognize that, you know what, because their lives, these little kids, and even my 15-year-old, when they're 25, life's going to be totally different back, at that time. It's going to be a lot harder. Yeah. It's still who you are, how you see yourself, and don't ever give up. And you don't worry about how hard it's going to be. You don't worry about how am I going to get through. You worry about just take care of today. Just take care of what you got to go through today and get through it. Let tomorrow care for itself. But make an impact in somebody's life today. And I'll tell you, just like you said, one person's changed. Give that one person a glimpse of hope today, and everything can change. Just one person, one heart at a time.
I feel like that's how you break that feedback loop, that negative one.
Life is not an easy road. You have no idea what tomorrow's going to bring. I just lost my mother-in-law Tuesday. It wasn't on the radar. And my wife and I were in the room with her and taking care of her. And then 5 minutes later, unexpected, next thing you know, she's slipping into eternity. Had no idea. Being a son-in-law for 32 years, and now that she's gone, you look back at all the great times and everything that you got through and what you experienced. And it was an honor to walk the walk that her and I did over the course of the last 11 days with her when she came home sick in a really, really dark time. But it was an honor to go through that and to share those moments with her, because it made me appreciate life even more, of my life and my family and however I can help others. And as an 87-year-old woman that finished well, life is about perspective, how you see yourself and how you see others. It's how beautiful it is and how amazing it is, and that every person is significant. They're important. And life's of uncertainties. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You have no idea. And so many people are already forecasting what tomorrow's going to bring. But giving them that hope and giving them that source of strength, and the perspective of who they are, they'll make it. Just got to keep pushing.
My wife, she has this one thing she taught me was kind of that exact concept, and she's very good about forgetting about negative things in the past. Her tattoo that she has on her just says "Live for today." Yeah. So that's her big thing, and she kind of taught me that, which is awesome because I have this analytical, anxious mind where I dwell on all the problems and all the things that went wrong in my past, but then she just reminds me like that's fine, all that's over. What happened? You're not alone. You have your kids right here. Like stop thinking about it and hang out with your kids.
That's right.
Be there for them. Yeah,
and you can live in the realm of regret.
Which is the worst place to be.
Decisions that you should have made in the past, you didn't, or things that you wanted to do, you didn't, and things that you should have said, you didn't. Even like with individuals that I counsel, they have regrets because I should have done this. Mm-hmm. Or guys that lost their kids, in LEOs. Even when my mom, when my mom passed away when I was 19, I had regrets. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I say that? You can't. You can always find something. But you know what? It's, you look at the positive things and you look at what you did and how you can change things today. As I said, one decision today can change everything.
That happened to my dad when I was 8. He everything was going fine, and he got into a car accident and almost died. He was in the hospital for 6 months. But like that moment changes your life. Yeah, you have to live for every moment, because any moment can be your last.
We have no idea what tomorrow brings, man. No. Chaplains are an incredible source of just pouring in and being there. Your hope is you don't want to be that voice for someone that's lost a lot. You want to be that voice before that. You just got to keep enforcing hope, keeping their eyes open, not physically, but spiritually too. Knowing that your life could end today, and you got to know where you're going. That's important because you got kids, you got a wife, but your life is on the line every day, and it could end at any moment. And you got to understand that. And there's so many people that have lost loved ones that have no hope, and they never recoup. They never rebound from it. So it's that source of strength, man, that source of hope, and just keeping people encouraged, and that knowing that, you know what, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. And there's someone always pushing you on your side.
Yeah, that's good. It's great to hear, because we all need that positive encouragement. I think that's where you're doing such a great job in the world. It's just bringing that positive encouragement. to many, not just your own local department, not just your own local community, to departments around the country. And I think that's, there's a challenge behind that, obviously.
Yes.
But it's awesome that you're doing that. You're making a big impact on social media. Raising awareness. I think raising awareness is a big piece because many of us in the public, I don't think necessarily understand the implications of what it means to wear the blue. Like,
you're not a police officer this is what I want to do, and it's a really cool job. It's about people. You have to care more about people than yourself, because that's what it's about.
Especially breaking through to people that don't like you very much.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Love working with people to make a positive impact in their lives. If you're going to be a police officer, you got to love working with people.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't love working with people, and if you have any type of bitterness, anger, or any type of discrimination, it's not going to work, and eventually it's going to come out, and your job is going to eventually come out. Sooner or later, it's going to hit the fan. And you got to realize that, I'm doing this for them. I'm not doing it. Well, you're doing it for you too, but at the end of the day, your job is that, not this.
Yep.
And just raising awareness, like I said, and being a spokesperson for it. Not just on the political level that we do, but in a law enforcement capacity as well. That, they need that. And most chaplains today are not given it. They're given, the avenue of, I'm there for you during the times of trauma, but we don't wait for that.
It's like that phrase, you don't want to put on Band-Aids, you want to put on knee pads, so you don't have to slap on a Band-Aid.
Right. And most chaplains, chaplains today are not spending the time to be an influence in the people that are in their department, being a role model, being that mentor. Yeah. And you need that. Everyone, it's like a life coach outside and internal.
Does every police force have a chaplain, or?
I got hired by the Florida State Police
3
years ago, and we were supposed to move down to Florida, down to Fort Myers.
I'm glad you guys didn't move down.
And they were begging me.
Yeah.
They were begging me to come. They had none. And a lot of these positions are full-time. And unfortunately, there's many departments throughout the United States don't have it. And they should, because it's a high-stress job. So I believe we have something that's really good. I believe we have something that's extremely positive and can help. And I just believe the people that we have on board, the guys that are working with me, can make an incredible difference because we have such an interest in people's lives, not after the fact.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's what we're all about, is build bridges. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and you could tell just in your voice. I mean, the passion that you have is what sets you apart, and is what also is going to make you successful in your endeavor. Is that strong passion for the cause. So where do you see, just as a charitable organization, where do you see yourself needing help? And it could be monetary, donation-wise. It could be people-wise. Where do you see to grow your mission and to succeed your mission? Where do you see you need the biggest assistance? Right
now, we just need some more visibility. Like I said, we do have a pretty decent display on social media. But at the end of the day, it's you got to meet with these people. More visibility. People know that we're here. The one thing that's cool about our organization is that when you're a chaplain in the police department, if that law enforcement officer speaks with you, it goes on their permanent record that they've spoken to somebody about their issues. Everything's documented. If you speak with us, it's private, and it's not on your record. So it's an external source. But see, most of these guys that are in these organizations like ours, USLEO, are not there in for the counseling and the helping. They're just in there for the charitable, the donations. But we're in there to help get you through. But it's private, and the one thing that's cool about our organization is it's 501c3, so there's no fees. So if you want to make a donation, like I tell guys all the time, if you want to, we don't charge you anything. But if you want to donate, that's up to you. But anything you donate is all tax deductible anyway. Support the cause. You want to give $10, it's fine. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to help you. I'm not here for the money. I'm here to help you. I can't put a dollar sign on your life. So whatever it takes. I believe that God has given us a gift and an avenue here that I believe that can be very beneficial to all the departments in the nation. Just the very thing, the very passion that we carry, and what we have, we want to give.
If I were to donate to you, what's the best way to donate to you?
Right through our site.
Through the website?
Yeah, just usleo.org.
usleo.org?
Yep.
Okay.
United States Law Enforcement Organization.
I saw you had some merchandise up there too. Maybe even the bracelet you're wearing.
I've got bracelets. I've got car magnets. I've got shirts, and it's really cool. It's just amazing how God put it all together. It's just a team of people that just helped us. I'm so proud of it because it's a super critical area right now. It's such a critical, sensitive area in the nation. I believe that our organization can really be that bridge.
Yeah, I see that too. I think one of the biggest areas that will make a positive impact on society itself is just everybody understanding the role that police play and the role that the community plays with the police, and just knowing that we're all on the same side. Hey Warriors, thanks for tuning in. On the next episode of Civic Warriors, we'll talk with Bill Hageman, CEO and managing partner of Witham, about creating a culture of philanthropy within a corporation. Make sure to subscribe to Civic Warriors, and thanks for all your support. Have a great day.